have a seat, please. Thank you, Luigi, for that song. Reminds me of, always a blessing, always a blessing. If you have your Bibles with you, let's open it to Hebrews. When we talk about faith, there's always one book. Well, there's a lot of books, but Hall of Fame, or what we call faith, is can be found in Hebrews 11. Hebrews 11 will focus on, there's so many things in this passage, there's just so many people. I'd like to concentrate, one particular group of people is Abraham and Sarah. There's Abel, there's Noah, and there's Enoch. There's so many things in the passage, but I just would like for us to just focus our heart and our mind in the story about Abraham and Sarah. Faith, it's really about choices. What you really, I hope you pick up the video earlier. So it's not really about our faith, it's really the person to whom we put our faith that really counts. So faith in God. Now, let me start with this. Have you ever come down with a case of PCITs? PCSITs. Okay. I read this article in Christianity Today and just intrigued me. PCSITs. So what is PCSITs? Well, PCS came from military. Those who have military background, PCS are very familiar with the military. It stands for Permanent Change of Station. Meaning, if you're in the military and you were assigned in, let's say in Guam, 2 to 3 years, and then they'll move you to another place, probably Bahrain or somewhere in the Middle East. Now, after 2 or 3 years, they'll move you to Italy or somewhere in Europe. So military is very familiar with the term PCS. It's basically permanent change of station. Now, the reason why I was intrigued is because that is also happening in the Christian community, PCSITs. Christians are into this, syndrome. PCSITs is when every 2 or 3 years you start itching for a move. It is in your blood. You're not content to stay put. It may be simply moving down the block or moving into a different village, but you just have to move. For one reason or another, there's in our blood that we want to move. When we stay in 2 or 3 years, there's an itch for us to move. And interesting because I thought it's only happening in the church, in our church, but because if you notice that there are people who've been with us and then after 3 years, they moved out. Interesting, because that is part of this, what we call the PCS. No. There's an itch to move. In the Old Testament, it's a different story. God called people to move. And that's very, very important for us to remember. In the Old Testament, people will not move. People just want to stay where they are. They just want to raise up a family where they are, but then God has to call them, and that is the story of Abraham and Sarah. The Old Testament, and the patriarch and matriarch Abraham and Sarah had the ultimate move. They received a set of orders from God, directly from God, that basically said, get moving and I'll tell you when you get there. Like a good soldier, Abraham said, where am I headed? And God said, don't worry about that right now. Just start off and I'll fill you in on the details as you need them. Okay, so interesting to note, God called Abraham. God says, you probably know this story. God said to Abraham, Abraham, I will make you a father of many nations, and your descendants will be more than the sands of the shore, more than the stars in the sky. You have to remember one thing. You have to move, and I have to put you in a place. And Abraham was asking, where will I move? Where will I go, God? Will I bring my everything that I have? And all of this were, I think, rational or logical questions. But the key here is Abraham, when he doesn't have the entire picture yet, when he doesn't know where to go or which direction, he just has to go. And back in those days, they don't have GPS, they don't have maps, they don't have internet, so he could really check out what's the place. I don't know, some of us here, we've been to a lot of vacations lately, okay? We've been to vacations, and especially if you're your first time to visit this place, what the first thing that we check? We check the hotels. There's hotels nearby. Second is, are there other restaurants nearby? I mean, what are the facilities? So we have to have this advanced knowledge of where we are going. Because that's human nature. We just want to know ahead of time, what are we expecting? Back in those days, Abraham has no idea where he is going. And that in itself is total faith in God. Abraham and Sarah's mission was not just a place, but a people. They were to give birth to a nation. You'll find the original orders in Genesis 12, where God promised, Abraham, I'm going to give you more descendants than the sands of the seashore or the stars in the sky. Genesis 12, 1-4. The only problem was, Abraham was 75 years old and Sarah was 65 years old. Remember this, the promise is, Abraham, I will make you a father of a nation. Meaning multiple people, by the millions. By the millions. It's not just one family, it's not only one community, but a nation. You will be a father of a nation. That was the promise of God. You have to remember, when this promise was given to Abraham, Abraham was 75 years old. And Sarah was 65 years old. Anyone here who is 75 years old? I know. That was the strangest, because a guy who is 75 years old and a woman who is 65 years old, humanly speaking, cannot bear any more children. Okay? I repeat, humanly speaking, cannot bear any more children. I don't know what kind of, for the 75-year-old guy, I don't know what kind of therapy you will do. You just cannot bear any more kids. You inject yourself with a lot of hormones and all of this, you still cannot, you just cannot. It's humanly impossible. But this is where faith comes in. Our first verse today, Hebrews 11:1, defines biblical faith for us. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Confidence in what we hope for, biblical hope, is not just a wish that something might come true. Like, I hope we win the lottery. No, it's certainly that God will keep His promise. So faith builds on that kind of hope. And I say, I am confident because God always comes through. Now, faith, the biblical definition is this: being confident. Being confident that whatever God has said will come to pass. So that is basically biblical faith, meaning what God has said will come to pass. When God has said to us that I will be with you no matter what, till the end of time, God will be with us till the end of time. So that is basically what the Bible is telling us about faith. Assurance about what we do not see. Faith believes without seeing. Faith believes without seeing. Someday we won't need faith anymore because we will be face to face with the Lord. And stand. Our eyes will be fully open. We will worship Jesus in His very presence. But for now, we worship Him without